Welcome to the CodePrep Podcast, the podcast that shows you how you can get into tech. Today is one of our bonus episodes where Valarie and I talk about all things tech based on our personal experience. Today's episode talks about our recommendations on learning. If you're in tech, the best skill you can develop is learning. Whether it be learning a new programming language, learning how to use a database, learning how to improve your existing code, but basically learning. But everybody learns differently. So let's get started. Valarie, can you explain the different ways people learn and why it's important to know how you learn?
Absolutely. So it depends on who you ask. There are a lot of different theories. The work that's been done around the theory of learning is impressive and sort of a lifetime of study all of its own. But I like to default to the basic four that sort of have been expanded upon over the years. So some people learn best visually. They see a thing, they have to see it to replicate it. Some people learn by hearing, very much tied to their auditory processes. Other people learn by reading and writing, and some people learn kinesthetically. They have to physically do a process to maintain memory of a thing. So here's the thing. If you don't know how you learn, you don't know how to target your study. You're going to end up wasting time. So I can tell you, for me, just for me, if you tell me how to do a thing, I may or may not be able to do that thing when we're done with the discussion. If all I get is some verbal instructions, I'm severely ADD. I try so hard to pay attention, but I'm often writing a grocery list in my head, also thinking about the colors in between the colors and what would happen if a certain country invaded another country. And all of these thought processes are going on while I'm desperately trying to listen to you. So any sort of educational path that requires me to just listen, not a good idea. However, if I do a task, now with instruction, sure, slowly, but if I hands-on complete a task, you never have to tell me how to do that again. Got it. So it's of paramount importance that you learn how you learn, which, Google learning styles, see which sounds like it's the most similar to you. To accommodate it. Are you aware of your, oh, sorry, we broke up. So I'm guessing you're aware of your learning style and how best to accommodate it.
I do. My learning style is kinesthetic. And I will only talk about education in the U.S. It may be different in other countries in the world. If you struggled while you were in school or you hated school because you didn't like sitting in a desk and watching a teacher speak on a topic and write on a board and you took notes and that was it. That was the only way that education was taught. If that's not your learning style, and mine is not that at all. Mine is a kinesthetic. Like I've been tested and, they do you from 0 to 99. I'm a 99 on kinesthetic. I have to be hands-on. I have to watch a video, have to do hands-on, have to watch a video, I have to read something, I have to be hands-on, and then I get it. It's the way I learn. To give you a good example of how that works is at my job, there are only two of us that do front-end development. And all of a sudden, our company decided we were going to pivot from doing an app, which was based off of, we were using Polymer to do our app, and we're moving and we're going to be doing development for what's called Industry 4.0. And we're going to be development in Vue. And we were given instructions for a 2-week sprint, come in and learn Vue. At the end of the 2 weeks on Friday, everybody had to do a demo of an application that they created in Vue. It could be anything you want. All it had to do was it had to work. And so Monday comes in and I'm reading stuff about View on Medium. I'm reading the docs. I'm watching videos on YouTube and everything else like that. And the gentleman that sits next to me, by like Wednesday, he was creating apps that were doing charts and graphs. And I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out how to make a component. And I'm like slowly getting behind and everything else like that because I had to do hands on. And by the end of the first week, I was like, I haven't done anything. And he was doing all these apps and, picking things up differently because we learned completely differently. So after the first week of watching all this training videos, doing hands on, the second week of the sprint, I was like, all right, I'm going to start creating things. And I took this app that we have been developing. Basically, a team of 4 people have been developing, 2 people on the front end, 2 people on the back end, and I'm like, I'm going to recreate it in Vue. And so the second week, Monday through Thursday, I recreated an app that we have been working on for 18 months in literally 4 days. I mean, it wasn't 100%, but it was probably like 90% of the functionality. I got it done in 4 days, and that's what I demonstrated. And, he was showing off all of his charts and graphs and everything else like that because he could just read it and then make it work. So it's important to know your learning style. That's why, so many people that do so well outside of school don't do well in school because they're not that learning type. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know your learning type, then you can focus on that and be able to take advantage of it. So going back to a follow-up question for you, Valarie, is once you know your learning type, how do you go about accommodating your learning needs? Because like we said, everybody learns differently.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to help you learn that others might think they don't want to do or
So
won't
I
do?
guess I'm a quirky soul. I'm quirky. I have a visual processing disorder that's very similar to dyslexia. In fact, I normally just tell people I'm dyslexic because they know what that means and I don't have to explain. But long story short, things don't always appear to me the way they appear in the real world. And it's tied to my stress level. So I learned early on in my life when I figured out that this could be controlled, sort of, to just not care what anyone thinks about your actions and just do what needs to get done. In a former life, I did medical billing, and you have to close out at the end of the month, and it's number intensive. It's a lot of math and accounting work. I'm actually having a little bit of a flashback to my life in medical billing, but I found it to be really stressful for me. And so it was not uncommon for me to go take a nap at the end of the day, come in after everyone was gone, so I was super well rested, and sip a glass of wine while I dealt with it to make sure I stayed relaxed, to make sure that I could actually see what was supposed to be seen. Um, Not a typical thing people do in medical billing, but my numbers were always spot on. One thing I get teased about is as a member of the dev team, I will print out code on paper and highlight it and scribble on it and tape it in long chains and draw arrows connecting things and put it up on the wall so I can see. Actually, right in front of me. And it's so funny, but the way my brain works, I mean, I have 3 monitors at work, but if I'm building something and I'm using 7 or 8 sources, I want to see them all at the same time, and I want to see how they communicate in front of my face, and I don't want to jump from screen to screen. And so it's ridiculous, but like I'll go through this printed out code and highlight, like, so this is where this variable is declared, and I'm now going to take the same color highlighter and I'm going to highlight every instance of that and write out why it has that value and it. I understand that my awesome editor could do that for me, but it's different when I'm touching the paper, seeing it, scribbling on it, interacting with it, and I don't care if I get mocked, it turns out. I don't know. It's just one of those quirky things that has to be done. But like I'm lucky in that I know what I need to learn. I'm 36 years old. I've had some time to figure that out. How would you recommend to someone to start, going about the process of streamlining their learning process? I mean, obviously, we've already said get online, figure out what you need. From there, like to a newbie to coding, how do you start that process of teaching yourself to learn?
That's a really good question because everybody that wants to get into tech, they were like, how do I start? And I see there's 5,000 articles on, how to install Node.js or something like that. How do I, and they just get overwhelmed and they quit. My recommendation is to use a technique that a lot of people use, whether they're starting out, and some people still use it, even if they've been in the business for years, is a thing that's called a Pomodoro clock. And Pomodoro, I think, is Italian for tomato. And the shape that you must see when you buy it is this thing that looks like a tomato. It's orange, and then you can
Hmm.
just twist it like a kitchen timer. Or a kitchen timer would work. You don't have to have one that actually looks like a tomato. And you basically you set, let's say, 30 minutes that you're going to learn. So if you are somebody that learns by reading, go open up browser bookmarks for 5 or 6 articles or something like that. Set your timer and then just start reading those articles, and you do nothing else until that timer clicks off. If you are somebody that learns by watching videos, then go pick out a series of videos on YouTube or someplace like that and set your clock and watch those videos for that amount of time. If you're somebody like me who's kinesthetic that you have to do hands-on, then break that time up, let's say that 30 minutes into 15 minutes. And I'll go out and read, 2 articles for 15 minutes that show you how to do something. And when the timer clicks, then for the next 15 minutes, I try to implement what I just learned so that I am reinforcing my learning style. And there's also scientific research behind that, is that in your brain you have the maligma in the brain itself that fires, and you have the synapses that fire, and as they're growing and you're learning, those maligmas start to grow and actually expand in what they do, and the more they expand, the more that you know about something. And the thing is that your brain is an incredible instrument, but it actually will, it's kind of like, it's like a battery. It will deteriorate, and then you have to like recharge it, and then it deteriorates, and then you have to recharge it again. So what you end up having to do is work in small increments like that, where you focus on what you're doing for that 30 minutes. And then you're able to learn that. So once you've learned it, then you're able to go out and apply it. So what recommendations would you have for somebody that is going out and they want to apply what they're learning?
So I feel like um, a reward-based system works for most people. Like most people will do some hard work for a reward. I think that it's important to build into your study some sort of payoff. And so if someone tasks you with learning a new framework, the payoff can be building something that is your own to add to your portfolio. So building into that schedule, okay, I'm going to give myself this many days to build these basic functionalities, and this is what I'm going to have at the end of it. Great. Or, you know what? I'm going to study for a total of 15 hours on this framework. And maybe it's, 2 hours Monday and 2 hours Tuesday, but this is how many hours I'm setting aside for this research and learning. And when I'm done, I'm going to reward myself by spending some money on more tutorials or whatever it is. Give yourself something to look forward to. What I actually love about the Pomodoro, the whole concept is, for me, there's a payoff. So again, I have a really hard time focusing. And so when I set that clock, and I do this not just for learning, I do this for my whole life. Like, um, when I start to get distracted, it's easier to tell myself, you have to focus and then actually do it if I know when that ends. It's not like banging my head against the wall, trying to be something I'm not indefinitely. It's okay, Regis, get it together for the next 20 minutes. And once that timer goes off, you're going to go look at stupid internet articles or Amazon or Facebook or something completely unrelated for 5 minutes and give your brain time to recharge. I do it with house cleaning too. Ready for a good laugh? If I have to clean, I hate cleaning. I hate anything domestic. I'll set the alarm on my phone. So bathrooms get 5 minutes. Whatever I can accomplish in a 5 minute mad dash, that's all that gets done on that day. And I do it like, I think the kitchen gets 20, bedroom gets 10. Like, this is how many minutes you deserve of my life. I will work hard until that timer goes off, and I'm done with this. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I'm often baffled by people in a good way. I'm inspired but confused as to how they accomplish things. People who can say, "Oh, I know nothing about Vue," and then around their work and life schedule, 2 days later, they've got a new Vue app in their repos. Like, what? What? How did you? How, what? And it took me years to figure out it's because I don't understand anything in this world until I understand why. The why of a thing. And it was about halfway through my coding boot camp when this really hit me that I thought I was dumb. I thought I just didn't understand things as easily as other people because our instructor would say, this is how you get this end result. Type these words, do these things, you get the end result you want. And I could never remember what to do and in what sequence and how. And it turned out, if I don't understand why, what happens if I don't do it that way? Is there a time when it might actually be best practice not to do it that way? Oh, have you considered maybe doing it this way but modifying? So, I mean, if I don't understand that interaction, I'll never remember anything. So I definitely annoy people at work by constantly saying, cool, do you want this done? Why? Like a toddler. Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about the theory of learning all day, but at the end of it, a lot of people need concrete suggestions. So let's say a new framework has come out and you and I have both been tasked with learning it. Let's talk about like actual pragmatic on the ground instructions. Where do we start? For me, it starts with finding out what it's designed to do. This is a reading component. What is it designed to do? What came before it? How is the improvement? And why it's desirable to use. That's my step one. I need to know those things before I can move on. What is your first step when you're attacking the learning of a new thing?
My first step is, what will this new, whatever it is, insert here that I'm learning, what will it provide me? What value will it provide in what I'm trying to do versus what I'm doing now, or if I'm trying to consider going forward to choose between two different things, which one's going to provide me the most value that will allow me to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish? That's the first thing that I look at. The second thing that I would look at would be how others have used it, because I'm not going to be the first person to ever use something new for the first time. So you can look at examples where people have used it. The traditional thing is you do a to-do app and whatever it is that you're learning how to do, if it's from a programming standpoint, is learn how to do a to-do app, because then you learn, how to do, the templating for it, how do you handle, interactions, so that here's your list of things, here's what's been completed, what's not completed. It's the core things that you do pretty much from any programming standpoint, that you will need to know how to do it. And a to-do app will give you a good introduction to the application itself. So those are the things that I would start start off with. But I think that learning is important for, many reasons, because as programmers, people will come to us and ask us to create a website to do this, create an application to do this, create a project to do this. And there's not an example out there that does exactly what you want to do. So you have to be able to take what you know and be able to apply it. And in tech, learning something, I think, is such a critical skill to have. And if you don't have it, you're going to struggle in this area. If you realize that, when I was in school, the programming languages that I learned in school, nobody uses today. Nobody. Nobody does it. So you have to be aware that every 2 to 3 years, there's going to be a new framework that comes out. There's going to be a new library. There's going to be a new database. There's going to be a new way of doing things. And you have to learn it. And that's, the most important thing to have in, in this industry, within tech. So.
Yeah, no, agreed. Honestly, the thing that we keep hearing on this show again and again from our guests, when we talk about getting a job or moving up in your career and advancing, the thing we keep hearing is it doesn't matter what you know. It matters that you can demonstrate you can learn anything. And it's just this universal thing. And I hear this at events all the time and from people who are veterans of the industry for 20 plus years is it's all well and good to learn the newest, greatest things. It's all well and good to have a very fleshed out, skill set. But if you're interviewing for a job and you do not know the things in their stack, but you demonstrate curiosity and an enthusiasm for teaching yourself new things, you're still going to get considered. So yeah, no, it is definitely an important skill, the ability to learn. So I think we should task ourselves with maybe coming up with some links and some resources to post with this episode, and sort of, for people like, how do I start this journey? Give them some resources, a good place to start. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we will find those. We'll put them in the show notes that will be below this video. Or if you're listening to this podcast, it will be on our show notes on our website. But hopefully this bonus episode that we'll be doing twice a month has been beneficial, where Valarie and I will be talking about our experiences that hopefully will help you get into tech and basically help you along that process. So Valarie, why don't you end it up for us?
Absolutely. Once again, this is the CodePrep Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I wish you all the best of luck in your learning journey. Give us some feedback. Let us know what helps you, and we'll all share the knowledge. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.